played that in the trenches. Too many of the boys did not come home. I was just a boy, but I had to grow up fast. I was 16 years old. You had to be 18. But my brothers, Fred and Tom, had signed up. I wasn't going to miss out on the adventure of a lifetime. And anyhow, Mr. Sykes of Sledmere House was paying a quid and a king's shilling, eh? That's 21 shillings, that's a guinea. A fortune in the event of war. Well, I signed up on the 1st of July 1914. I were 5'2" in my stocking feet, 8 stone 6 dripping wet. Just a boy. But I was in, and I were ready for the adventure of a lifetime. Well, it wasn't long, you see, before the call came. It was harvest time, I remember. Early August 1914. And we had to make our way to Bradford. Moor Barracks it was. Moor Barracks. Army Service Corps, you see. We were put through our paces. It was only basic training. Rifle, drill, that sort of thing. 1049. Private Walker reporting for duty, sir. Wagoner 1049. You see, Mr. Sykes wanted those who could handle horses and pole wagons, as we did on the farms. You see, I were born in Cram, near Bartonley Willers, in the North Riding of Yorkshire. I loved farming and being on the land, just as my big brothers had done. And I were used to horses. You have a way with horses or you don't. You build up a relationship. Well, it were a different sort of relationship with the commanding officers, I'll tell you. Stand at ease! Attention! And then, before you could say Jack Robinson, we were on our way to Aldershot, however you pronounce it, and they picked up, we did, our pole wagons and our horses into the hold of a ship before long, and we, with His Majesty's transport, were on our way across the English Channel into France and Belgium. Remember Belgium? The slaughter of innocent women and children. We had to respond, you see. Well, we took our horses and our pole wagons, and we ride 'em postilion-like. Aye, it's a skill only farmhands like us in the East Riding of Yorkshire have, you see. I say East Riding, that's where Sledmere is. That's where we used to go for competitions. Riding our horses with the pole wagons behind in Finder Field in a figure of 8 formation. What a skill that is. Well, we'd be putting it to good effect, carrying, everything needed for trench building. Timber, corrugated iron, and everything needed for the lads on the front line. Supplies and ammunition. Now that means it's a steady ride. When you've ammunition on board, need I spell it out? Along the Menin Road. Aye, Flanders, Belgium. Until you came to the junction between Menin Road and the railway, which was always in Jerry's sights. Gallop through Hellfire Corner! Still in one piece. You see, if your horse fell, you fell with it. Now, it weren't long before 1915 had come along. We weren't home for Christmas as they'd promised us. And this time, you see, they were thinking about having to replace the lads on the front line who'd already been killed. Anybody young enough and fit enough, well, the fingers of the officers were soon pointing. You needed to be transferred to the infantry, lad. So, 1049, Wagoner Walker, sir, became 42183, Private Walker A, West Yorkshire Regiment, the Prince of Wales's own, the Leeds pals. Aye, and our duties, well, they were in the Somme Valley. Change of headway for most of the time, if you've any sense. The rattling hail of lead, the screaming of shells. Dig your trench, Tommy! 9 feet deep. Timber to support the sides, like, and sandbags. And when you go over the top, you take your chance. Say a little prayer for Mam back home. She won't forget me, will she? My little wet home is a trench that the rainstorms continually drench. There's clouds overhead, clay or mud for a bed, and you just learn to live with the stench. Aye. The smell of human waste and death. Corpse rats We have names for some of them. And you looked around into the eyes of your pals. A haunted look of terror. Not necessarily cowardice, I don't mean that. No. You see, there was people shivering with cold and yet sweating profusely. Twitches, the arms, shell shock, but they didn't have a name for it then. Aye, trench fever, violent vomiting, you see. And of course, that duckboard we'd put in the bottom of the trench was supposed to keep your feet dry. Don't make me laugh. Up it comes, up to the top of your boots, over your ankles, up to your shins. Aye. We were supposed to change our socks, wash and dry our feet once a week at least. But you could tell when they were getting red raw, sore. But as long as you can still feel your toes and your feet are numb, aye, that's the trick. This little piggy went to market. This little piggy stayed at home. This little piggy had roast beef. This little piggy had none. And this little piggy went wee, wee, wee all the way home. That'll be the day. A parcel. For me. It isn't all. Private Walker. 42183. 15th West Yorkshire. Right, that's our battalion. BEF, British Expeditionary Force. France. Now then, I wonder whether it's cake. I wonder whether it's chocolate Mum sent me. It might be a tin of salmon. Huh? Louse powder. Well, it'll come in handy. It's the thought that counts, isn't it? We were wick with lice in the trenches. 1st of July 1916. The big push. The grand offensive, they told us. Jerry won't be ready. You see, we've been bombarding him. The screaming of shells and the rattling hail of lead, but over our heads, that Jerry, you see, he'll be demoralised. 7:15 in the morning. A tot of rum by order. Right, warms you up. Dutch courage. 7:30, 0 hour. With your Lee Enfield rifle and your 17-inch bayonet. We're in columns, like. I wasn't in the first wave, thank God. Normally they'd said, keep your head down. Below the parapet, lad. You don't want to give Jerry shooting practice. But at 7:30, 0 hour, it was over the top, me boys! And they went. You followed the orders blindly. And Jerry was ready. Them boys were mown down. Machine gun fire at 500 rounds per minute. And of course us in the columns behind did exactly as we were told. Come on, you owls! Leeds owls, you know, the Leeds pals. Over the top! And we went! I fell into a shell hole somehow. Not by design, I'll tell you. But what I saw from there will haunt me for the rest of my days. Some of us made it back. About half of us didn't. I lost some of my special pals that day. Albert, Bill, and George, and Harry, and Jack, Tommy, each and every one of them. You tried to cover them, like if under the cover of darkness we got back into no man's land. You know how it is, our trenches, then the wire, and 100 yards, 200 yards away, Jerry's trenches, with Jerry's wire in front and no man's land in between. Well, that's where our boys lay, the fallen. If there were any moaning or groaning, like, well, we'd carry 'em back. If not, a bit of soil, a bit of dignity. Why weren't we told of the trenches? Why weren't we told of the wire? Why were we sent out in columns? May Tommy Atkins inquire. Of course it would have been the same for Jerry on the front line, you know. That day and the days that followed in the Battle of the Somme. I don't know what they were called. Hans, Herman, Fritz, Stefan, Schultz. But like our boys, each one would have been somebody's son. Somebody's sweetheart, maybe. Somebody's young husband. Somebody's brother. 1917 came and went. New Year 1918. And we were still in northern France somewhere. A place called Moyenville, I believe. The nearest village, anyhow. And we'd been involved in heavy fighting, let's put it that way, for best part of a week. And I remember waking up. It was the 27th of March 1918. I'd had a good night's sleep. The lads were ribbing me because I had my thumb in my mouth. And when I woke, you see, it was always stand to at dawn often, or dusk. We were expecting it. Stood down in between. There was Jerry. He must have crawled under the barbed wire. He were facing us. And to our right, and our left flank, where's the other companies, the other divisions of our battalion and others? Just Jerry, surrounded on 3 sides. Well, the order came from behind to surrender. I did as I was told. Well, do you know, they marched us off. Some had tried to put up a fight, but it was suicidal. Into the village square there was a sort of cage, and we were put in it. Treated like wild animals we were. They threw us bits to eat, and I think they thought we'd fight over them, but we didn't. We're British. We know how to queue and to share, don't we? Don't give them the satisfaction. And then herded we were into cattle trucks, and it were a long, rough ride on the railway into Germany. I don't remember any Willkommen. Into different prisoner of war camps, and there were guards there at the gateways and on top of the walls. We were somewhere near Switzerland, somebody said, and they're neutral. We're about escaping. No chance. Emmendingham or some such name, I believe. Anyhow, they put us to work. I wasn't frightened of hard work. I didn't want to work for them, like. And you know, we were actually cutting bits of straw in this factory, supervised all the time. Straw, and it went along a chute into this Schneider machine. And somebody said it were for making explosives. I thought, how can you make explosives out of straws for comforting animals, keeping them warm? Don't ask too many questions. But they put us in huts with roofs on. And there were a wash house. Oh, I reintroduced myself to my feet. Luxury, you could have called it, but not really. And they fed us, stinking, filthy, smelly, disgusting sauerkraut, it was called. cabbage. I'm sure they just added to it. But it kept us alive. And then on the 11th of the 11th, 1918, the guns fell silent. Not that we knew. All that we saw was that the prisoner of war camp gates were open. And we could walk out. Well, one bright spark said he knew the way to France. Follow me! And we did. We walked for about 2.5 hours in a bloody great circle. And where did we finish up? Back at the gates of the prisoner of war camp. We had to laugh. Red Cross picked us up. Aye. And took us to Calais or one of them channel ports. It were a rough crossing back, but it didn't matter. We were home. In England, a land fit for heroes. Now, would I get my job back? Well, I don't suppose they'd kept it open for me. There were lasses working on the land and with the horses that hadn't been called up to the front with us. I had to take work underground in Grimethorpe Colliery. But then on Michaelmas Day 1920 I was hired again at Elm Tree Farm, Bartonley Willers. Well, I suppose most of the lads returned and married their sweethearts, not me. I saw this young family grow up, and you know, the little lass, became my girl eventually. We married in Malton in 1938. I was 40, she was 19. Well, they accused me of being a cradle snatcher. I said, you're only jealous. And our Elsie came along 2nd of September 1939, the day before war broke out again. Do we never learn? But at least I were in the Home Guard this time. Aye. Well, they rewarded us with medals, but I keep mine in a tin. And in that tin they will stay. I shall go to Armistice Day service. Oh, aye. I shall show me respects. I shall wear my regimental tie. 15th Battalion of the West Yorkshire Regiment, the Leeds Pals. There's my cap badge. I shall wear it on my berry. Can you see the Leeds owls? Aye. And my wagoner's badge. I mean, I never thought we'd be in the infantry. We were special. We worked with horses. and I shall proudly wear me poppy. And I shall remember them lads as if they were still young and full of life, Albert and Bill and George and Harry and Jack, Tommy, each and every one of them. They shall not grow old, as we who are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.